Hey guys, I'm mad. So, you see, after I said that Sonic and Sally had better chemistry than Sonic and Amy on Satan Debates several months ago, the press has been on my butt non-stop talking about how I have invalid opinions. Where were they when I said Sonic 4 was a good game like 3 years ago? Well, thanks to that statement, it was somehow quite easy for someone to make false allegations that I planted an STB in someone's property. I don't even know what that is. Either way, the court found me guilty, so now I'm on death row. I guess now that people found out you can actually die in the afterlife, they're finally getting with the times. Well, if these are the last few hours of my afterlife, I might as well use them doing the one thing I love to do the most. Complain. I don't get you. The Sonic series is known for its iconic sounds, and that same philosophy goes for the voice of its cast, especially the titular character. When you see a well-known character, you most likely have a voice that you'd associate with that character, right? Well, what do you hear when you see this guy? Well, I hear... Sonic is one of the few characters in media to be a massive name, but not have a definitive set voice. Of course, I don't mean he has to have the same actor each and every time he appears. No, what I mean is that the actor who plays him should have a good idea as to how they should sound when voicing the character. But with Sonic, who cares? Breaking news, Ashley Burch, the voice of Molly McGee, is the new voice of Sonic. So I can just throw stuff at the wall and sees what sticks, and even when it does stick, they take it off, put something else on. So let's take a look at all the different voices for Sonic and see what stuck and what didn't.
Hi, my name is Sonic.
Well, clearly not you. This is Sonic's voice from the English version of Sega Sonic Cosmo Fighter, an arcade ride made for 2-year-olds. Here, Sonic tries to do his best Superman impression and fails miserably. At this time, Sonic was already said to be a teenager with attitude, and this voice doesn't really represent that at all. It's pretty clear that this was made very quickly since Eggman's voice is pretty high-pitched, and the direction for these voices in general is just kind of all over the place.
Come on, you guys. Get going.
It makes sense that this would be a rush job since it was a translation of a Japanese game that was barely produced. It was so rare that it took until 2023, over 30 years later, for the English version to be even found. I'd say this is probably one of the lower points in Sonic's voiced career for the direction and tone alone.
Alright!
But you know what? You're pretty cool. Sonic CD was the first Sonic game released on a compact disc, and thus, it was far simpler to use sound files than on the Sega Genesis. So, the choice was made to give Sonic a voice. What lines does he have to say?
Yes!
Can you say anything else?
Yeah! I'm out of here!
I think this take on the character, while pretty bare bones, has the tone and snarkiness that I think fits this character. Pretty good start. Who's next? Wow, so retro. While the Japanese team was giving Sonic a voice in Sonic CD, the patriotic Americans needed to do the same. So, Jaleel White, known for playing Steve Urkel in Family Matters and that one guy in Psych, was casted as Sonic the Hedgehog in 1993's animated series, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog and... Sonic the Hedgehog! With Jim Cummings! He had a really spunky, too cool for school 90s vibe to his voice with a snarky attitude. His voice pretty much fit the idea of Sonic's personality at that time.
This is my competition? A couple slow-mo hoverheads? Man, then I'm wasting my time.
He played the character throughout both series' run and reprised his role in Sonic Underground in 1999, which is apparently pretty popular in prison.
Oh, dude, is that the Sonic show with the dope theme song?
Oh, yeah, dude.
Give up your children, separate, bide your time, lie in wait.
While Jaleel would not return for any future official Sonic endeavors, he would voice the character one more time in the 2013 Sonic fan film.
Way past cool, huh?
Good grief, that mouth is unsettling.
See something you like? I hope not. I mean, you're pretty and all, but...
Oh no, not again! At the same time Jaleel officially reprised his role as Sonic for the last time, the first proper video game voice for Sonic entered the picture. Ryan Drummond. Starting with Sonic Adventure in 1999, Ryan gave Sonic the snarky, attitude-filled tone that Jaleel gave him with a bit more gruffiness in his speech. It was like he was letting his voice do a fusion dance with his throat, giving an unrivaled uniqueness to his voice.
Let's find Eggman and show him the real power of teamwork. Ha! Think I'd miss this? Time to crack that Eggman wide open! Yeah, let's party!
He's probably one of the most recognizable and iconic voices out of everyone who has played Sonic in the past. However, while I believe his vocal performance was fantastic, the same can't be said for the script and direction he was given. The voice direction in Sonic Adventure 1, 2, Shuffle, and to a lesser extent Sonic Heroes are among some of the worst in the series. The dialogue is poorly written and sometimes makes absolutely no sense. Like, there are actual points in these games where the English actors say Japanese words. How? Ryan's dialogue is just straight up bad. It's definitely not his fault, but it's still there. However, Ryan's general performance was so great that he still voices Sonic today. Unofficially. He's worked on a few fan-made productions like Sonic and Tails are. It's obvious around the beginning of the show that he had to get back into the swing of playing the character, but as the series progressed, he did reach a performance that rivaled the official games he was in.
Chill out, Shadow. Eggman's not even close yet.
Despite how loved he was by the community, Ryan Drummond was replaced after the release of Sonic Advance 3. The next in line to voice Sonic was an actor from the Sonic X anime, Jason Griffith. Jason was actually already voicing Sonic even when Ryan was still the main voice of the character. Sonic X released around the same time as Sonic Heroes, and for whatever reason, the company behind the English dub, 4Kids, chose to recast every single character in the show. By the time the next mainline game, Shadow the Hedgehog, was released, the series was halfway through its run and Sega wanted parody across the Sonic franchise, so all the previous actors were let go and replaced by their 4Kids counterparts. When he first got into the swing of things, Jason was somewhat of a weak impersonation of Ryan.
The sky looks the same. So do the stars and the moon.
However, as the series went on, and when he became the main voice of the character, he started to form into his own. And by that I mean he enunciated the end of every sentence.
I was fighting somebody. Hey, sorry, but I can't say anymore.
His voice is really easy to replicate because it's just a higher pitched voice that enunciates the last word of every line. But against all odds, somehow, Jason was able to make his Sonic voice really good. By the release of Sonic and the Black Knight, Jason was nailing the cocky, arrogant teen persona that Sonic represents. He doesn't have the spunk or snarky performance that Ryan and Jaleel had. Rather, he's more laid back, or chill if you will.
Ha! Not the sharpest tool in the shed, huh? So I have to defeat the Knights of the Round Table and collect the sacred swords?
He's become much more tolerable and, to an extent, almost up there on the pedestal with Ryan in my opinion. At that point, honestly, I'd have been down for Jason to stay as Sonic. If he was able to improve this drastically within a 6-year time span, who knows how 10 years would treat it. Oh, come on! So, with the contract with 4Kids expiring, instead of Sega choosing to renew it again and keeping the voices consistent, they instead chose to replace the voices. Again. This new line of actors would debut in Sonic Freeriders, with a few rumors saying that Ryan Drummond would be reprising his role? Finally, Sega, after 50 years of being a company, have finally made a good decision with their mascot.
Feeling good. I'm looking forward to seeing the sights as I tear through such a beautiful town.
Wait, that's not Ryan.
I'm sorry. I didn't get that memo. I beat you every time. Is it me? Or is that place we were just in awfully familiar? Hey! Look at me, Baldy McNose here!
Yo, don't you think that Titan was kind of overkill? And then she hooba'd my dooba, and then we scoobity wooba dooba together. There's nothing like publicly writing out in public to make you want to kind of go to the gym and just take pictures of you at the gym because you have poor self-body image and don't really care about yourself. I can't really breathe.
Yes, while it was true that Ryan Drummond was supposed to reprise his role as Sonic, Sega gave him a contract that, if he signed, would force him to leave his union. So he decided to not sign the contract. Thus, Sega chose to get an entirely new voice to take over the role, Roger Craig Smith. Roger's take on Sonic is very different from the rest of Sonic's voice lineage, and by that, I mean it can be either alright or make me squirm in my seat. In his first outing, Sonic Freeriders and Sonic Generations, he seemed to be doing an impersonation of Jason Griffith, enunciating the end of most of his sentences.
How did this happen?
However, as he continued to voice the character, he started to grow into his own, and in my opinion, let me jingle those keys in front of you so you don't make a call-out post on Twitter, in my opinion, it is among some of the worst Sonic performances of all time. In terms of both voice and writing, Sonic has pulled an Oliver Jen by transitioning from a cool, chill teenager to an annoying, whiny, somehow simultaneously too high and too low-pitched, wisecracking moron. I am on fire tonight! Bro, in games like Sonic Lost World and Sonic Colors, he is so annoying it's laughable. Lost World especially. I know I'm supposed to stick to the voice of the character, but with Roger, the voice direction and the voice itself go hand in hand. Roger himself is an absolutely incredible actor. He's played characters like Batman in some of the Arkham games, Captain America in licensed media, Ezio in Assassin's Creed 1 through 3, Kyle Crane in Dying Light, and so many others. He's fantastic in all of those roles. However, with Sonic, is always flip-flopping from fine to downright awful. Nearly every other game that's released forces Roger to essentially play an entirely different character. Freeriders and Generations had him doing the Jason Griffith impression, like I already said. Colors had him doing this deeper voice that sounded like a 30-year-old man trying to pretend to be a teenager, and it comes off as trying too hard. Lost World had him do this slightly higher-pitched, annoying voice that I also mentioned before, with some of the most annoying dialogue in the entire franchise. Then, when Sonic Boom came out, Sonic's personality was shifted to a more lazy and sarcastic, laid-back guy who's done with everything. Thus, Roger's voice was changed again to reflect that. Then it was changed yet again in Sonic Dimensions, where Sonic's personality was changed to be like a wisecracking meme lord. That voice never went away and was used in the last Sonic game of that decade, Team Sonic Racing. Good grief! I don't think this is something like Jason, where he's constantly growing and changing into his own version of Sonic. I think this is the voice directors actively choosing to constantly change how Sonic sounds for the funsies, and I'm sick of it. These directors need to get their act together, and Roger needs to go... Out of absolutely nowhere in the beginning of 2021, Roger tweeted that he'd be leaving the role of Sonic. While I was happy that we could finally be getting a voice that fit the character better along the lines of Jason and Ryan, it's annoying that Sega is still constantly changing Sonic's voice. Bringing it back to my initial statement, when you see an iconic character, you most likely associate them with a specific voice. Even if that character goes through changes in voice actors, the general concept of that character's voice is still, for the most part, intact. But with Sonic, his voice changes so often that no matter who you ask, you'll almost always get a different answer when you ask someone how he sounds. Some may say they hear Ryan, some may hear Jason, Roger, Jaleel, or the Cosmo Fighter voice if they're weird. If they want to stick with Roger, so be it. I won't like it, but I can accept it. But they're constantly flip-flopping between these actors and these different tones and inflections for the character, and it's so annoying. With Roger leaving though, this may be the perfect opportunity for Sega to finally figure out how they want Sonic to sound, since there could be fewer issues with contracting directions moving forward. Do they want him to sound snarky and gruff like Ryan, maybe cocky yet collected like Jason? Or they could continue to stick with something similar to Mr. Hooba Dooba himself's line of work. Well, a lot of people felt that Roger leaving was a choice made in order to create parody in the Sonic series, a la the 4Kids recasting. This time though, it wasn't with the voices of a Sonic anime, it was the voices of the Sonic movies. More specifically, the voice of the titular character in those films, Ben Schwartz. Ben's Sonic voice isn't really a Sonic voice per se. His take on the character is nearly identical to his takes on other characters like Leonardo in Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Dewey Duck in DuckTales 2017.
But I didn't do this all alone. I found a new family, new friends, and you can too.
And Sonic's personality in the movies definitely fits a similar bill to the latter. That was not a duck pun, I swear. He's an outgoing, inexperienced child that aspires to be more than what he actually is, and I'd say that Ben nails that for Sonic. If he were to play the main version of the character, I still think it could work. It'd obviously have to be toned down just a tad, more Leo than Dewey, essentially. But in the films, it's nearly flawless.
Cool. Also, what is going on?
For what the films are aiming for, Ben is the perfect candidate for the voice of Sonic. Did Sega choose him to be the new voice of Sonic? Did they choose a sound-alike? Or did they choose someone entirely different? Huh? The day before The day before Sega's planned reveal of the next big Sonic games, Roger revealed that he would be returning to the role of Sonic. What? I mean, I'm happy he's able to return to the character that he clearly does love to play and that Sega is staying consistent, but why did he even tweet that he was leaving in the first place? The very next day, Sega revealed Sonic Colors Ultimate and its animated sub-series Rise of the Wisps, the latter of which features Roger performing new lines as Sonic. Then they revealed that Sonic Frontiers, which in the teasers later that year, had lines from actors that already said they were leaving the series, and lines made for the final game to be released in 2022, almost 2 years after Roger's initial statement. The game was already pretty late in development by the time the first teaser was released, and it wouldn't surprise me if those lines for Sonic and the crew were already finished. And if this is the case, why on earth did Roger reveal that he was leaving before any of that was even announced? It's stated that Rise of the Wisps was recorded before the pandemic of 2020, and I wouldn't be shocked if Frontiers was also recorded before it too, meaning that those lines were already set in stone over a year before Roger and his peers, aside from Mike Pollock for some freaking reason, said they were leaving. So why would you say that you're quitting as the voice of Sonic if people would still hear you as the voice of Sonic on multiple occasions after? We still haven't heard Sonic's voice in any upcoming projects after Frontiers. Is Roger still leaving and going to be replaced moving forward? Is he actually actually staying? I don't even know anymore, dude. I'm on death row. Why am I thinking too hard about this? Well, either way, Roger would continue his reign, and his big comeback would be the latest game in the series, Sonic Frontiers. Let's see how he sounds.
What the kind of humanitarian outfit are you guys? And for that matter, if this project file can save the world, why keep it a secret?
Oh, sorry, I had Dying Light on. Let's see how he actually sounds.
Looks like I'm the only one who made it out of that. Whatever it was.
I thought I turned it off. In order to fit with the game's direction and tone, the voice cast had to change their usual takes on the characters to be more down-to-earth and kind of depressed. Roger in particular went from a smart aleck meme lord reference machine in Sonic Dimensions, Team Sonic Racing, and Sonic Forces, to a stoic Jaleel White sounding reference machine.
Careful. Where's the fun in that?
We're not fixing the problem they think they have, but we are bringing them peace.
In my opinion, this is the worst Sonic has sounded in recent memory. He was definitely annoying and ear-graining before, but now he has the voice of a generic adventurer game protagonist like Nathan Drake. I'm not saying that Nathan Drake is bad or anything. I'm saying that Sonic doesn't stand out anymore like he once did, whether he was inconsistent or not. There are also moments in this game where Sonic genuinely sounds constipated, like when he's yelling. Instead of him actually yelling like an actual freaking person, he instead keeps this quiet, depressing voice and does this fake-sounding shouting thing. So, was this Sonic's voice moving forward? Was Sega finally getting their act together despite me disagreeing with the approach? No, of course they didn't. He's a meme lord again! Woohoo! I cannot figure you out, Sega. What do you want Sonic to be? Maybe it is all Roger's doing, or maybe it's all the voice directors, but honestly, I don't care anymore. This sucks. I can't see a world where this iconic character goes from sounding like a gruff, cocky teenager to a 30-something trying to act cool to a depressed Nathan Drake, and then goes back to this meme lord face that he had like 3 years prior. I cannot think of any other iconic character that has this problem. When I read the Sonic IDW comics now, I constantly flip-flop between Ryan, Jason, and Roger, and I want it to stop. I want to have a definitive Sonic voice. I want to be able to experience this character like I do with others. And I also just want to get this over with and get Death Row out of the way. What's the next thing that comes after Sonic Frontiers?
Hey, what's up? It's me, Sonic!
I love him. For whatever reason, the main video game cast was not brought on for the seemingly canon Sonic animated series, Sonic Prime. So, all the characters were recast again. Sonic was set to be voiced by Devon Mack, and from our very first hearing of him on his announcement video saying that he was playing the character, I was immediately hooked. Devon feels like a take on Ryan Drummond's Sonic with the range that Roger Craig Smith has.
Didn't know I had that in me.
That's what you get for messing with my friends, Egghead.
He has this perfect voice that could fit in the games with Ryan, Jason, and Roger like a glove. How did they mess it up this time? Devon's Sonic voice was simply not made for Prime's take on the character. In Prime, Sonic feels much more inexperienced. He's always acting like a bumbling idiot and feels like he has the mental capacity of a 12-year-old, which makes it really difficult to accept that this is considered to be in the same timeline as the video games and comics. This show would fit much more in line with the movies, but even then, this version of Sonic is still much more immature than that. His personality makes Devon's performance come off as really whiny and irritating at times, and it's such a shame. From the parts of Prime that aren't that annoying and the unofficial things that Devon has done involving the series on his social media, he sounds absolutely stellar. But in the official show, he's known for his dialogue and voice clash in a really bad way. And with that out of the way, we have officially discussed every notable Sonic voice actor. Who would I say is the best Sonic in my opinion? That's a tough question, but it's definitely tied between Devon Mack and Ryan Drummond. They both have that quippy, snarky attitude that I attribute to the character, but they both have their own uniqueness that makes them still stand out as their own. And that's how most actors for this character should be. They should have what makes this character's voice so recognizable while not exactly being a direct clone of the previous actor. Like, there's literally an unused line in Sonic Freeriders that has Roger doing some kind of Ryan Drummond impression.
Here we go!
And it sounds really good, but no, instead we get Hooba Dooba! An example that I think is perfect for this scenario is Chris Diamantopoulos as Mickey Mouse. When the previous voice actor of Mickey Mouse, Wayne Allline, passed away, Chris and Brett Iwan went on to voice the mouse in other media. While Brett was much closer to Wayne's voice with only minor differences, Chris was an entirely different beast. He was still doing a voice similar to Wayne that was easily recognizable as Mickey Mouse, but he gave his own spin on it, having tons of range that allowed Mickey to be more expressive than he had ever been before. To me, Devon Mack could be Sonic's Chris Diamantopoulos, taking what the previous actors did and putting his own spin on things. However, the material he's given, much like with the rest of these actors, is what messes things up.
Mr. Poole, you have been charged with an attempted STB attack, and you will now be executed.
This is kind of roomy, actually. How is this going to kill me?
Oh, the roof is going to flatten you to death.
Sick.
Do you have any final statements?
Yes, actually. Sonic's voice is nothing like those other characters. It's constantly changing. Whether you believe that to be a good or a bad thing, it's undeniable. In my opinion, a change needs to be made. Your character needs to be as recognizable as possible for your brand to be as widely known as possible. And with Sonic's voice being the way it is, I'm absolutely confident that it has caused tons of brand confusion. A voice is meant to discern people from one another, but for Sonic, it somehow isn't the case.
Are you done?
Pretty much, yeah.
Why isn't it working?
The power seems to be used by another output.
This is Death Row! What else could be taking up so much power?
Ground, Sonic Underground.
That explains it. Right, shut that off and then divert the power. Oh my god, he's gone.
Should we go after him?
No, I don't care anymore.
Well, that was an absolute disaster. I think the moral of the story here is that no matter how bad things get with your Afterlife or with the Sonic series, it will never stoop as low as Molly McGee Season 2. Hey!